working in this role, I see a lot of women who feel, that they're the only person that are experiencing these thoughts, and they're not. They're really not. I see a lot of women who are really struggling. My name's Sasha Barber. I'm the Mental Health and Bereavement Lead for North Bristol Trust Maternity Services. It's rare to have a mental health nurse based in a maternity unit. They do have specialist mental health midwives in some hospitals, but it is a bit of a postcode lottery on if you have a mental health nurse or a midwife with a kind of an interest in mental health in a maternity unit. I think antenatal classes have a really important and kind of educating women, and there has been some feedback from women that say they talk about the birth and pain relief and the kind of the physical side of things, but the emotional side and the well-being side needs to be kind of more closely focused on, because there can be huge changes through pregnancy. And I think that first meeting with the midwife as well is a real opportunity to let women know that there could be changes in how they're feeling, and it's completely normal. But if it's impacting on their quality of life, and it's a real struggle for them to kind of get through the day, and letting them know that things may change, but there is someone they can talk to, and there is help and support available. If you've had a past history of depression, when you're pregnant, for a combination of reasons, it could be social stress, hormones, the change, anticipation of becoming a parent, expectations. For some women, they may find they're kind of going down that path again. Well, there is Aunt Tommy's do a wellbeing plan that any of the midwives can kind of take off the internet. And part of that wellbeing plan is looking at kind of what your triggers are, what helps, what doesn't help, kind of reduce anxiety in your low mood, who's around to help you. So from very early on, you can start having those discussions about, okay, what is the best way to kind of help you, rather than leaving it to the last minute. The woman is the expert. If they've experienced a lot of anxiety and depression and mental ill health in the past, they're the absolute experts in their own illness. So it's really good to hear from them about what makes things better, what makes things worse. And just having that conversation can really it can be a plan in itself. If you haven't suffered from anxiety and depression before, and this is your first episode when you're pregnant, it completely blindsides you. I think if you have experienced it before, you've got something to pull on. You've got kind of coping mechanisms that you might have put in place. You know your illness. So you kind of, you've got the upper hand in a way, even though it may not feel like it. But when you haven't experienced it before, you think, what is going on? And it's really frightening and overwhelming. I like to emphasise to all the women that I see that this is an illness, and there's a real self-stigma that stops women from kind of disclosing about how they really feel. I think it's even worse in pregnancy as well, because there's that expectation that it's supposed to be a wonderful time. And having that conversation early on about that this is an illness, and depression lies, and anxiety lies, and it will tell you things about yourself that aren't true. So kind of dispelling some of those myths for those women. I think the early support and help and disclosure of how you are, how you're feeling, any past history, midwives and healthcare professionals taking every opportunity to kind of ask those really important questions about how they're feeling, their mood, at every contact is vital, and women feeling comfortable to disclose that. Giving them an opportunity to talk through how they're feeling is kind of therapeutic in itself, really. It's about finding out what works for them, and that's why it's really important for any healthcare professional to tune in to what works for that woman. Groups may not be for everybody, therapy may not be for everybody, so how do you work as a person? What works for you? What kind of, floats your boat, really? If we can, work together early on, I think that, the kind of the outcome for the mother and the baby is much improved, really. And there's a lot we can do in those 9 months to support a mum. It could happen that that you become anxious, you become depressed while being pregnant, but it's really important to know that there is treatment and there is support and there is therapy that can really help with that and make all the difference. But the key is to tell people early on. I'm amazed by the resilience of women who struggle with mental ill health every day. They come to see me in clinic, and all sorts of different kind of stories to tell. But they get up every day and they see to their children, and they muddle on through, and they think they're not doing a good job. But if they had an equivalent of a physical illness, they would allow themselves to recover. They would, they wouldn't be beating themselves up about how they felt. But yeah, their resilience and courage is kind of always amazes me. And the stories you hear, and you just think, my God, I don't actually know how you're sitting with me now.